Millennium series of films were a mild success for Toho, but after Godzilla Final Wars bombed at the box office, Toho decided to retire the character for now.
This year's Godzilla Final Wars is the last Godzilla film. But so long as Godzilla keeps fascinating people, I believe he will be resurrected by new generations of filmmakers in the future.
And it looks like at the time, Toho really was done with making Godzilla films. With no new fans being made, the franchise will lay dormant for years. But Talon, you may be asking, we're in a new golden age of Godzilla. How could you say there's no new fans being made? Enter Yoshimitsu Banno, the man who made Godzilla fly. Part of our story starts all the way back during the Showa era. Banno directed Godzilla vs. Hedorah, and according to producer Tomoyuki Tanaka, he ruined the franchise. Tanaka had been hospitalized during production, and he was disappointed by the finished film, and supposedly told Banno that he had ruined the Godzilla series. And probably the main reason that he stated that was because Banno wanted to represent Godzilla's desperation to catch Hedorah, and he wanted to show this by having Godzilla use his atomic breath to make himself fly through the air. Banno would later state that the flying scene was inspired by the way that seahorses swim. Fast forward to the Millennium series, and Banno was trying to get a 3D Godzilla film made, and in 2000 he founded his own company called Advanced Audiovisual Productions. They focused on large-scale cinema like IMAX and providing equipment and making films for this type of format. Toho was already planning to end the Millennium series of films, and they saw an opportunity and they agreed to Banno's requests to make a short film. They would also have a set of rules though. The rules required Toho's approval over elements like the story and character design, but Banno had to find financing elsewhere, meaning Toho would not give any money to Banno to make this thing. Alongside that, Toho would distribute the movie theatrically in Japan, and any other partners Banno worked with would also be allowed to distribute the film worldwide. The agreement also stated that the companies would work together on marketing and merchandise. Banno worked on a concept in 2003, and it was called Godzilla vs. Deathla to the max. 2 years later, it morphed into Godzilla 3D to the max. The budget was aimed to be around $9 million or 1 billion yen. The budget was on par with the Millennium series of Godzilla films. Filming for the movie was set to start in December 2005, and it was set to release in the summer of 2006. The movie developed to have a really strong New York angle. The final act would occur there, and the backstory for some of the human characters would relate to 9/11. The release date was pushed back, so production would end in 2007. The budget was increased to $25 to $27 million, or 3 billion yen. Later in 2007, the movie also shifted from a New York setting to a Las Vegas setting. The staff of the production included Yoshimitsu Banno as director, writer, and producer. The movie would be co-directed by Keith Melton and Roger Holden. Brian Rogers was also assigned to the project, and he would work as a producer. Kenji Okihira, Banno's longtime assistant, was assigned to associate producer. Special effects director would have been Aichi Asada. He was the special effects director on Godzilla Tokyo SOS and Godzilla Final Wars. Peter Anderson was also set to be the head of cinematography, and he would work on some of the visual effects as well. Banno's Advanced Audio Visual Productions and Holden's White Cat Productions were there while they continued to search for backers. The search for backers would lead to Legendary Pictures. They were intrigued by the idea, but surprisingly, they wanted to produce a full-length movie instead of a 40-minute short film. Banno went back to Toho, and negotiations were in the talks between Legendary and Toho. And Toho, when it was eventually released, they got distribution rights in Japan. Banno and his longtime assistant would also be executive producers on the film, and Brian Rogers was placed as a producer. The concept that originally was for the short film was scrapped. Godzilla would retain his more heroic persona, and almost everything else from the Godzilla 3 to the max was gone. The movie was announced at Comic-Con in March 2010, and Gareth Edwards would direct this film, and he was chosen because of his movie Monsters. And a few years later, it was released as Godzilla 2014. The budget was $160 million and would gross $529 million worldwide, with positive reviews from critics and fans. But in Japan, it really just didn't do that well. It was an okay success, but it didn't ignite the craze for Godzilla in Japan. But back in 2013, Toho was thinking about reviving the Godzilla franchise, but they needed to see if Legendary's version of Godzilla would be a success, so they would wait. In the meantime, they approached Hideaki Anno to direct this new Japanese Godzilla film. He denied at the time because he fell into a depression after the completion of Evangelion 3.0. He would state, "A representative from Toho contacted me directly saying, 'We'd like to direct a new Godzilla film.' At the time, I was still recovering from Eva 3.0. Right on the spot, flatly refused the offer. It's impossible, even to begin work on the next Eva is impossible." He also refused because he wasn't confident. "I refused the offer since I didn't have confidence that I could exceed the first film or come close to equaling it. I thought even if I could come close to it even a little bit, I would have to do the same thing as the first film." But Toho would eventually convince him, and they announced in December of 2014 they were working on a new Godzilla movie. And this new film would be directed by Hideaki Anno and Shinji Higuchi, and this would not be in association with Legendary's Godzilla. And in 2016, Shin Godzilla was released, and it was a massive success in Japan, and it did alright in America. It got a limited run in American theaters and Canada from October 11th through the 18th, and I even got to see this movie when it was in theaters. Shin Godzilla would win multiple awards in Japan. At the 40th Japan Academy Prize Awards, it would win Picture of the Year, Director of the Year, Best Cinematography, Best Art Direction, Best Lighting Direction, Best Sound Recording, and Best Film Editing. And at the 90th Kima Junpo Awards, it would win Best Screenplay. And at the 59th Blue Ribbon Awards, it would win Best Film. And at the 38th Yokohama Film Festival, it would win Special Grand Prize. At the 71st Mainichi Film Awards, it would win Best Film. And at the 11th Asian Film Awards, it would win Best Visual Effects. And at the VFX Japan Awards, it would also win Best Theatrical Live Action Film. A lot of awards. Shin Godzilla was the most watched Godzilla film since King Kong vs. Godzilla. Shin Godzilla would also get a re-release in black and white titled Shin Godzilla Orthochromatic. With Godzilla 2014 being a success in America and Shin Godzilla being successful in Japan, the scene was set for a very successful era of Godzilla. And it so far has been an extremely successful era of Godzilla. And we are at a new peak of Godzilla. We have a Godzilla -1 sequel. We have another Godzilla x Kong film on the way. We have so many Godzilla films. We have a very mid anime trilogy, a very mid TV show, but everything else has been really solid since Shin Godzilla. Let's just hope that this era doesn't fade away or go away. But tragically, in 2017, Yoshimitsu Banno would pass away due to a subarachnoid hemorrhage on May 7th, 2017. The man who apparently killed the Godzilla franchise, but also went on to save the franchise, had sadly passed away, and Godzilla King of the Monsters would have a dedication to him along with Haru Nakajima.